Hi, I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jarad.
and we are the two gentlemen. Coming to you as wholesome as apple pie. Jared, how are you, mate?
I'm probably the only one that I know that's well. Everyone else is sick at the moment, mate. I'm going all right, touch wood. But yeah, I got some kids that are a little bit off color, been off color for a few weeks, and just trying to get rid of the last bit of the cough. But I'm going well. I'm other than sitting out here in the cold and early morning on a Saturday morning. It's it's not too bad. What about yourself?
I'm one of those who has been sick, so we haven't recorded for ages. We had a
Yes.
few delays through work, and then we had something scheduled, and I got sick, and I
Yeah.
haven't been able to shake it. It's one of those lingerers, as
Yep.
you called
Yep.
it. And it's just, yeah, it's sticking around. It's just localized on my face. It's not like I've got some lung infection or I'm not sore or anything like that. It's just
Yeah.
my nose is congested and I just don't feel great.
You can tell you sound a little bit off with your voice and the congestion, but yeah, thanks for I guess plowing through and getting back on board because we did have it, we did have something planned, but yeah, you called in sick.
Yeah, I chucked a sickie for the two gentlemen.
You did.
Left one of the gentlemen hanging. Sorry about that, Jared.
You didn't even put on the voice for me, and you had to put on the voice. And you called.
Yeah.
It's terrible. You just texted me.
The worst feeling is when you'd call in sick for work, for real, you'd feel
Yeah.
instantly better and you'd be like,
Yes.
oh, I could probably go in. Oh,
Yeah.
geez, should I have called in sick?
Yeah. I think it's the getting rid of the stress of having to put yourself through that 8 or 10 hours of dealing with whatever you got to deal with while sick. That's not on your head, not on your mind anymore. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, and also when you
yeah,
book in for the doctor, you're like, can I justify this? Especially these days where, most people don't bulk bill, you've got to pay for it. It's like, am I actually sick enough to go to the doctor? I don't know. I'm feeling all right.
yeah. And the questions you get asked, like now, have you got a cold? Have you got a runny nose? Have you got this? Have you got symptoms? And it's like, well, yeah, that's why I'm coming to the doctor. But you can't because, of the last few years that we've had to deal with. So, yeah, it's you sort of think, oh, well, I mean, that creates a problem in itself, though, that's people not going to the doctors when they should. But, it's weird times. It's all changed. The whole being sick thing, I think, has changed. As soon as you mention it to somebody, I play, as you know, I play a lot of sports and I organise or help organise most of them. And every week you've got somebody who's got cold and flu symptoms and they don't play. Whereas 3 years ago, it was like, toughen up, princess, just get out there and have a run. But now it's like, oh, my kid's sick or someone else is sick and I better not, just in case I'm sick, I better not bring it to the team, and you think,
Exactly.
it's a valid point after the years we've just had, but it's definitely changed the landscape a little bit. And same goes for work, same deal. So, yeah.
I wonder if there is benefit in saying, look, I'm sick. Should I come and spread it to everyone so we can knock it out of the way right now and get it done with for the season?
Like the chicken pox.
Yeah, almost like that. Yeah, like a cold party, essentially.
I remember my dad saying this, that when the kids up the street got the chicken pox, his parents said, yeah, off you go play with them, get it over and done with. And I thought, wow, things have changed. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that was just the way they knew it was coming. Yep, it's holidays, I'm off work, I know it's coming, so get the chicken pox.
Yeah.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
cold
it's a
party,
good
I
way to
like
do
that.
it.
Yeah.
And
But
look, the
yeah.
other thing is, as a man, do you find, there's a bit of guilt in calling in sick? Like, I feel like we're supposed to soldier on regardless of
Mm.
anything. And forget about
Ah,
sickness, even injury, mental
yeah.
health issues. We're just meant to show up and do the work. And there's definitely merit in that, but it can also be a bit of a trap for us too, can't it?
Oh, massively. And yeah, I'll answer that, I guess, in part. Like I believe that in the past I've felt like that, and that was to do with just the way that how I was, the workforce I was in and all that sort of thing. Like if you called in sick, it was, you either better be dying or, like it was sort of like you put through the ringer and you were made to feel bad. So, essentially, and it wasn't like an aggressive sort of thing towards you. It was just your team's going to be let down, all this sort of stuff,
Yeah.
And so you just kept going through it, through sickness or injury. Every now and then I would have picked up an injury from footy back in the day, and you got a busted knee or a busted ankle, you got to limp around work for a while when really you probably should be putting it up. Yeah, but look, I must say I've definitely changed. I don't know whether it's the landscape of the situation of life now, or whether it's me getting older and wiser. But, quite recently, I had a pretty full-on week. I had worked extra hours, so I had hours spare, and I just took the Friday as a like a flexi day sort of thing, or an RDO day that I was able to take. But I just took it as, I'm sorry, I'm done for the week. I need to reset, and I felt great. I really did. So yeah.
Now, Jarad, in that sentence there, you said, "I'm sorry." Should you be sorry?
No. I still have that little bit of. I guess it was more, I'm sorry, I'm taking it no matter what you say. I don't know, maybe with that. I've made up my mind. Yeah, you're right. There you go. I probably shouldn't have even said that. But the fact that I took the day maybe seems that I may have grown a little bit. It's only taken me, how many years I've been in the workforce. But yeah.
Oh, good on you, Jarad.
But I'll work better because of that. I'll come back refreshed because of that little one day where I was able to take those hours.
Yep.
For me,
Jarad, there's been a bit of talk about getting workers back into the office or back onto the job site, essentially.
Yep.
Whatever the motivations are for that, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's businesses who feel like, look, we're paying rent, so, you better get back in here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's commercial landlords who are putting out their ideas into the media and telling people that, they should be coming back for the good of the economy. Maybe it's small businesses like cafes in the middle of the CBD who want the old foot traffic that they used to get. It could be a variety of factors.
Yep.
But the reality is, I think a lot of people are much more productive at home and much more comfortable at home, and it's better for our mental health. It's better for everything for the individual. And my brother, for example, has been working out of our place when both Erica and I are at work. So that way he can keep an eye on the kids. And so instead of going to the cafe, say in the city, or, on the, how there's like a milk bar in the industrial area, that sort of thing. Yeah, he's going to the local shop here, just up the road, and supporting that local business. So the money's still getting around. The economy is still being supported. It's just different people. So what do you say to that? Do you think it's a good idea to, I suppose, encourage workers just to do their best rather than worry about things like commercial rent?
Well, it's a new challenge for businesses that have people that work, or organisations that are paying this rent. It's new challenges for cafes, and I don't say this lightly, but it's a new challenges for those sort of places that they're going to be quieter on days when they historically were busier. They may have to run a 7-day thing, where people, can come in on weekends. They have to change things up a little bit. Businesses may have to change, as in like organisations, like, okay, we don't need to rent 8 floors of a building. We rent 5 and hot desk, sort of this hot desk situation. We invest our money into lockers and things like that, where people can come in when they come in. It's also hard, I guess. And one thing, you touched on a few things there, valid points, but it's probably also hard for the managers who manage people from home. It's a lot of trust involved in that, because they're not physically seeing the person at work. There's a lot of trust in knowing that, oh, wow, the work's going to get done. I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, I can get the work done. I don't need to be there from 8 o'clock till 4 o'clock. I can do 4 hours here, and then I can sort out the afternoon with the kids and pick up the kids and then do another 4 hours from, 6 till 10 at night or something like that. Like that work gets done. If you've got a job that allows that and you're not required to be frontline or on the phone or whatever, then what's the harm in that? That helps the lifestyle of people. But I must admit that a manager who, I use the term micromanager, but I don't mean it, offensively, but a manager that really likes to be involved and really likes to know, this would be really tough for them. So they'd struggle to sort of have control, for lack of better words, of the situation, because in their minds anyway, because they're not seeing people. And but they if you're seeing the work, it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, the going back to the cafes and things like that. Like I know when I go into my work, I'm there 5 days a week doing what I do. But I know the cafes that I go to, because I'm a creature of habit, the cafes that I go to, they're very quiet Monday and Friday because it's still pretty much, nowhere near as quiet as they were, but it's very much set up that, people will work the middle 3 days and the either day of the weekend, it's kind of quiet. So they've had to open and run another day, an extra day to get that weekend business.
Yeah. I think what you said about the managers micromanaging, not trusting, that's probably one of the biggest issues. I think that's probably a bigger issue than anything else. And perhaps that's being disguised by all the other excuses that are used to try to get workers back into the office.
Yeah.
But you also said if the work gets done, it gets done. And to me, it's not an issue of trust. It's just a matter of outcomes. You said you'd do the work, you did it, end of story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple as that, really. Well, then clearly I don't need to micromanage, and the issue is with me and my management style, not with the worker or the process.
I think there's been a lot of realization of that over this period of time. And I hope the people that have that style have been able to be a bit flexible. And the organizations that have that style have been able to work out that, okay, this is okay. This isn't the end of the world. And, the world is smaller. We always keep saying that. And, you can see when people are online, you can get to them with multiple ways of communication. Why do they have to be always in your face? I guess that's the question. I
think this is getting onto a broader topic of human nature and human dynamics. And it's really important because you think about school. School is a very similar thing. Like, how do you know kids are going to study if they're not all in the same room as the teacher?
Yeah.
And, well, people have been studying for thousands of years and going off and following their interests.
On their own, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone who's committed to being a good footy player is down at the park in the school holidays, running around, kicking goals and, passing the ball with their friends.
Yeah.
You can't stop them.
No. You're right. So I guess it's making what the person's, if the person has a genuine interest and a genuine interest in what they're doing and what they're achieving, then yes, the work and the required work will be done. It's a different workforce, though. You got to admit, though, it's a different.
100%. It's much more natural for people to go off and do their own things and be responsible for themselves. I mean, we want people to take ownership of things. What better way of doing it than saying, here you go, I trust you. Whereas if we're treating them like school children and putting them in a room and saying, well, look, you've got to, do the work in this office so I can see you're physically at your desk. Well, how does that get any trust?
And that's right. Like, I mean, you look at what we do for 35 hours, 38 hours, 40, whatever working hours is per week. There's a lot of other hours in the week that, we run a house. No one's telling us there, oh, you must do that washing up, or you must do. We know that when the washing needs to be done, or we know when the lawns need to be mowed, or we know, all that sort of stuff. Like, we manage that ourselves, right? Like, I mean, we know when the shopping needs to be done. We know how to budget, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm being very broad, but you get the idea. Well, I don't have a manager there telling me, oh, well, I must see you do this for you to do this. Like, we're capable human beings. Majority are capable human beings, and be able to operate without being managed.
Exactly.
That shouldn't be different at work to a certain degree. You know, like I know there's roles and jobs and things that need to be done, but once it gets put forward what needs to be done, it should work nicely in a perfect world.
So the question is, why wouldn't someone do it? Why wouldn't they be motivated? And it's the easy answer for a manager would be, well, people are lazy. People are inherently dishonest. But if the work is meaningful, no one's going to be lazy. You know what I mean? Like when you're playing football, if you genuinely want to be on the field, you work really hard to get there, to do those tackles, to do the little 1%, right? And you want to keep your job. So it's no different in real life. If you can create meaningful work for people, and this is the key for business leaders, no one dreamt of working for your stupid little candle company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, people can say, put all these ads up there and get people working on commission and stuff like that because people are desperate now in our society, but no one dreamt of that. So if you really want someone to come on board with your vision, make it worthwhile for them.
I agree, but I will add something that I think I sort of believe in as well. Like I think you're right. Nobody dreamed of working for the candle company or patching tires, you know, like in a mechanic shop. Like no one dreamed of that, right? It wasn't a dream that came up. Yeah, this is what I want to be. But it goes back to how I think work needs to be done regardless. I think so. Sometimes the organisation has some jobs that require that, but they're not love jobs, if that makes sense. So it's also partly on the person doing the job to try and find those little wins within that. Like, I guess that's me saying, let's try and be positive while we're doing something that possibly isn't what we love, but try and find those good little goals within that. Yes, you have to change a tire, and yes, you have to, you know, whatever you have to do to sort that out. You can tell I'm not a mechanic, but whatever you have to do to sort that part of the vehicle out. But, you know, there might be little wins along the way where you get to talk to the customer, or you get to do this, or you get to, like, little parts that you really enjoy. And I think if you can grab onto those little parts, it'll make your job feel a little bit better. And if you've got management helping you as well, in a perfect world, which it isn't, but in a perfect world, hopefully that all marries up and makes your job feel meaningful for you.
Firstly, you said that these jobs just need to be done. It's not necessarily true that someone needs to have a scented candle company. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Now, that someone just had an idea for whatever reason. They thought, I'm going to dedicate myself to that. I'm going to put a bit of capital into doing this, right?
Yeah.
I need people to help me. And quite often it's, I will try to make as much money as I can. Therefore, I have to save money where I can, and labor costs are the beginning of that. So I've got to keep those costs down, and I've got to keep those laborers as productive as possible, right? So essentially, you're just trying to squeeze as much out of something as possible at every step of the way in business, right? Nothing wrong with that. That's just economics. You've got to be economical about everything.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, that doesn't have to be done. Like, no one else has to go, yeah, I agree. We need candles, guys. We've got to dedicate ourselves to this. I'm going to, you know, for king and country, for candle and country, I'm going to, you know, get in there and sacrifice my life so that this person here can live their dream. That's ridiculous. So
are you suggesting to me that scented candles are not a necessity? This is blasphemy.
Look, there was a gap in the market. People go and fill that gap. But if you want people to work and join that vision, make it worth their while. Make the work meaningful. In the example of the tire company, right? Someone does need to plug those tires. But if you want someone to show up to work, and they physically do have to show up to do a job like that, you can't work from home.
No.
Create a great working environment. Okay. Now, why would you start at the bottom? Because you can get to the top. So have a great career progression plan for everybody. You know, let people know that, hey, you're valued. You can show up and do this. We're going to treat you well. You're one of the family. And, you know, you keep going. We're going to learn all these things. And eventually you become a black belt in tires, and you'll be able to do all this stuff, right? And you'll be able to run the joint. And that keeps people motivated. So I don't know how we got onto this topic, Jared, but I think it was because you said managers don't trust people. Well, people don't trust managers either. That's the other thing we've got to look at.
Oh, that was the next. Yeah, definitely.
We don't like your motives. We don't like the fact that you're, you're dangling the carrot in front of us, and then you move the goalpost and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And then, for what? What do we get out of it? And then we lose our bonuses and all that sort of stuff. So this is a two-way street, people. Let's treat people
100%.
better. And in the words of the wise Jared Weston, be human.
You keep saying wise in front of my name, like, it feels like I need to come up with something after every time you say that.
That's enough, man. That's a great contribution. Be human. It's that simple.
It's pretty simple. But yeah, you're right. There was a point that I was going to get to, and we kind of got sidetracked. But yes, whilst I said, like, we've got to trust the workers have got to trust management too at some degree as well. So it's a two-way street, and I'm repeating what you said, but I agree with that. And I did fail to mention that earlier.
Jared, let's move on to the topic of meaningful work. I want to share an awesome moment I had in my job. So I'm working with a client who lives in a group home with people with dementia. And the moments of human connection that are possible in such an environment are not as great as in some of the other jobs I've worked in. But I had a bit of a superhero moment. I got to the house and one of the clients was in the neighbor's yard and she wouldn't leave. And eventually and this isn't my client. I'm only working with one person in this house and it wasn't her. But I thought, look, I want to help because that's what humans do. Humans help each other, okay? Just because you're on the clock, it doesn't mean you can't help other human beings.
Yeah.
So I went up to her and said, hey, do you like guitar? And she just looked at me and said, oh, yes. So I went to my car, which was probably like 5 meters away, grabbed my guitar out, and I started strumming. And her face just lit up. And I started walking backwards towards her house, Pied Piper style. And she followed me. I got her back into the house with the power of the guitar, man. And
oh, dude,
you've traced my journey with the guitar on this very show. And I've told you many times how terrible I am at it. And now I'm at this point where I can use it for good.
You can bring people towards you.
Exactly.
Wow,
so that was a huge victory. Anyway, so a couple of days later, I saw her again and I had a spare few minutes because it was towards the end of the shift and my client was occupied doing something else. And I said, hey, would you like me to play guitar for you? And she said, oh, yes. So when got the guitar, came back, she'd completely forgotten our conversation and she just ignored me. Even though I was playing it, she just walked past as if it was nothing.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep.
But there was another client there and I said, would you like me to play for you? And he said, yes. Well, he nodded. He's nonverbal.
Yeah.
And we sat down in this lounge room and I said, because of his age, I said, do you like Elvis? And he nodded. So I played Can't Help Falling in Love. And I just learnt it actually. And he really enjoyed it. And I said, do you like the Beatles? Again, because of his age. And he nodded. So I played Let It Be and he seemed to enjoy it. Then I thought I'd play Hallelujah for him because it's a beautiful song. He said, do you know Hallelujah? And he just shook his head. So I thought, okay. And I said, do you know Take Me Home Country Roads? And he nodded. So I started playing that and I thought, you know what, I'm going to sing it because I know the lyrics, whereas the other songs I'm not so good with. So I just thought I'd play and sing for him and he started mouthing the words. So even though he's nonverbal, he started mouthing the words. This is a man with dementia who remembered the words of Take Me Home Country Roads.
Wow.
And anyway, so I just went for it.
That's such a moment.
Oh, his face just lit up the whole time and he was smiling. And then at the end of it, he shook my hand. And again, this is a person with dementia and the music unlocked something. And this is me, a total amateur guitarist. I'm not a good guitarist, but I'm good enough that I can share a human moment with somebody. And honestly, I've been working in this sort of thing for about 16 years, almost over 16 years now. And that was one of my career highlights. So I've unlocked a superpower here with the guitar and I'm just going to keep enjoying these human moments with people and that creates meaningful work. It's what you want to show up for.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I know, like you said, you're on the clock, but I reckon you would have stayed there longer. If your shift had finished, you would have stayed there another hour, helping because it was just such a good moment, right? It was just
Yeah.
what you were doing was I can't think of the words, but it was a great moment for both of you. You know, like you felt the connection, he felt the connection. I think that's a beautiful story, mate. Well done. That's really good.
Yeah, thanks, Jarad. And it meant so much to me.
Yeah. And that's one little cog or one little story. That's one little, you know, in the world that's going around us. But, you know, if you can make those little connections along the way and brighten someone's day, and it brightened your day, like, let's not say it definitely wasn't one-sided. Like you what I was getting at, you were enjoying yourself there, and you would have done that on your own time.
Absolutely. And I've shared this story with friends, and their faces light up, and they've got tears in their eyes, and
mate,
it means a lot. And look, it just shows the power of positive intentions and wanting to share, and just knowing that, you know, we don't have to be so stuck in our specific roles or anything. We can open up. We can kind of bend the rules a little bit.
I think you've touched onto something why people volunteer for charity. Like, there's a starting point. It makes them feel good to volunteer for charity work because they want to do good, right? But they might have a job or let's say a job that within those 40 hours a week that they have to do something, some particular thing where they're not overly excited about, and they can't find that happy place in that work, but they know they have to do it for paying the bills and keeping. But I think that's why there's a lot of people that go to after hours and, you know, go and help, you know, go to those kitchens and feed the homeless and feed those rough sleepers, and go and, you know, donate clothing, or go out on a Wednesday night and do something charity wise. I think that balances out and it helps the people that they're obviously there for, but it also helps themselves and becoming balanced in what their world is every week. And I think that's why charity work has become so important to, you know, so many people.
Definitely. And Jarad, you did so much unpaid work at Blacktown Rugby. And think about all your admin roles there. You did that because you cared. And what's the point of a rugby club? It's to keep people together. It's to get people together. It's to create a community. That's what it's about. And that's really, really important.
It's funny doing those roles. And, you mentioned I kind of forgot that I did that and stuff. But, like, rugby was playing the actual game of rugby was further down the rung, surprisingly, for a rugby club. But it was more about the events, you know, obviously running it and making sure everything's in a positive, you know, profit-wise, and everything's running well. But it's all about getting people together a couple of nights a week, getting people together after the games, after training, for extra events on the Saturday nights after the game. So the game itself kind of ran itself.
Yeah.
But it was the community side of things that you had to work on, and that was the fun part, you know. That was the fun part.
Yep. And I was thinking about mental health. When we think about supporting the whole notion of mental health, quite often we think of professionals like psychologists. We think of things like medication. We think of access to crisis services. The first port of call for me when it comes to mental health is community.
Yeah.
When you're surrounded by the right people, when you've got positive things, when you can believe in people, when you can believe that there are good people around you who are doing the right thing and are looking out for one another, then the mental health benefits that come out of that supersede anything else. Now, if governments want to look at supporting mental health and contributing to it, go give out heaps of community grants. Get people together. Yeah. I think that's the key.
People don't feel alone. That's the main thing, you know. Like, when you can get into a community, you're not alone.
Yep.
You're alone. And sometimes, as I was younger, and, you know, I took that for granted. But as I've got older now, I realise how lucky I was to be in that situation of surrounded by people that were willing to help, were willing to laugh, were willing to, you know, help if you needed assistance, willing to, you know, even, you know, use their skill set, like their job skill set, to help around the house. Like, honestly, like, and then I get to play football with them, or then like, and it was I took that for granted, possibly at the time, But when I look back, I realize how wonderful that was, and how needed that was in my journey. And I mean, I hope people can find that through, whatever their passion is, whatever, I'm not saying go play rugby because it's not for everyone, but whatever their space is, there's always going to be a group or a community around that space. Like, even if you think it's really strange and weird, there's always going to be a community there.
Absolutely. Actually, I just want to share another beautiful story. On Thursday, the weather was immaculate, and this is winter, by the way, everybody. And we're at our homeschool choir, had a great time singing in the sun, and then afterwards we played a massive game of soccer with heaps of kids, so homeschool kids from all ages. We had probably 3-year-olds there up to, I think there were some 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a 13-year-old too. So, and some adults sprinkled into that. And one of the parents commented to me saying, she's reached her wholesome quota for the day. She was just saying how wholesome this moment was. And it was just so much fun. Kids just smiling and laughing and going nuts, just playing in a public park. And the feeling you get afterwards, the endorphins, whatever it is that are released, it's such a good feeling. And to me, that fills your mental health cup for the day.
Yeah. I actually can agree. We just, on Thursday night, we one of my girls had training, and we played a parents versus kids, and there was 15 of them versus 6 of us. And it was just this, just laughing and carrying on, and, they were there to train or whatever, but it was just a nice 20 minutes of just running around and, getting to know the kids that you're cheering for on the sideline, and sort of having a laugh with them, and, mucking around with my daughter there, and, watching her interact closely with the teammates. It was just really a nice experience. And, we got home and all we could talk about was the game we had, parents versus parents versus kids, and it was just great. It was so happy, and it was such an amazing experience. Like you said, the smiles on their faces, even though we beat them 6-1.
That's the most important part. I was going to ask Jarad, who won?
Yeah. But it was really good. It was really fun.
Yeah. Look, Jarad, we've gone over time. It's been so great talking to you again. It's been a long, long time. To everybody else, look, we're still here. We're going to keep doing these, but it's going to be a little bit more sporadic than it used to be, unfortunately, with our schedules and, unfortunately, illness in my case. But I guess what I can get out of this chat that we had, and we were just going to talk about illness today, but we've talked about really the keys to health, which is having something meaningful to do and having meaningful connections. And we've got to get those where we can and make the most of them and appreciate one another and let people believe in us, be somebody that people can believe in, and help each other and do what we can in another person's best interest, not just our own.
I cannot think of a better way to end the episode. Well done, buddy.
Thank you so much, Jarad.
Thanks, mate. Bye.